Hi, this is Alexxis Steele from Music 101. Stay tuned to hear what's happening from your favorite national recording artists and get my answers to your music industry questions.
Steel Notes Magazine is your source for what's happening on the local, national, and international scene with news, reviews, and interviews. Get more notes per measure at Steel Notes Magazine.
You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexxis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.
Hi, it's Alexxis Steele with Music 101. I'm here tonight with my two co-hosts, Spencer Drate and Judith Salavetz. They are award-winning album cover designers. And our guest for this evening is Rolan Bolan. He's the son of T-Rex's Marc Bolan, and also Ethan Silverman, who is a filmmaker for the new film, Angel Headed Hipsters. How's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah, great.
Very excited.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you for having us.
I'm so honored, Mr. Silverman, to have you with us, truly.
Thank you. As I said, I'm happy that you're here, Judith. You've been hovering in the background, but never.
I do that a lot. I do that the best. I come out once in a while, you know.
As I was saying, I'm actually wearing my black boa here tonight, even though Roland's dad, I believe, was using a white boa, but I don't have any white ones at the moment. But I did that in honor of him. Roland, as I said, is the son of Marc Bolan and Gloria Jones. He was born in London, but raised in California. And his dad, unfortunately, passed away when he was very young, about 2 years old. So he discovered his father's musical and personal legacy during the 20th anniversary of his passing. And he's here with his collaborator, which is filmmaker Ethan Silverman, of this great film that he's done on his father. So we're going to be discussing everything about the album and about your dad's legacy, the movie. And I watched the movie and it was great. It was awesome. So we'll be talking about that. Ethan, he's a director, writer, and producer of film and theater. His short films, Central Park and The Waiting Children, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and PBS. And his music started as an assistant at Danny Fields and Linda Stein, manager of the Ramones. He's worked with Pete Townsend from The Who, developing theater projects. And recently with The Who's manager, Bill Kerbishley, he's developed and produced a video game for Sony Music using the music of Judas Priest. Right. So we have a lot of great talent in the room here right now, as far as that goes. And that was Ethan and Bill conceived the album and the film Angel Headed Hipster. So Ethan, I want to start with you as far as that goes. And how and when did this whole concept and idea for this project begin?
Well, it was well over 6 or 7 years ago. Bill and I were developing an idea for a theater piece, and he wanted to use music from 70s London bands. And he asked me if I knew the music of Marc Bolan and T-Rex, because he had worked with Marc very early on when he was in John's Children, who were a mod band that opened on a tour for The Who in the late 60s. And he thought that guy was really interesting, and he always paid attention to what he was doing. And also they were on Track Records, which was the company that Bill ran, and a lot of great artists were on it, including Jimi Hendrix and the wonderful guy who did Fire, with this stuff coming out of his head. Sparks. I just lost his name. I'll get back to it. In any event, I said I knew some of the songs, but being an American, I didn't know the catalog well. So I listened to everything and I said, this is amazing. And as we were working on that, there was more and more T-Rex songs that I wanted to use. And that project kind of lost its way, and because we began working on this video game for another band he manages, Judas Priest, and just one thing led to another, and I said, well, let's do an album of some of Marc Bolan's music and get contemporary people of all ages and all genres to redo the songs. And he said it's a great idea, but these days putting those albums together is very difficult financially. A lot of record companies don't invest in stuff like that. And because everything has become so visual, I had the idea to film it. And that's how we raised the money to make the album. And once I started working on the album and Hal Wilner, the late Hal Wilner, produced the album, and the sessions were really good, and I had great footage, and I really just was loving it more and more. I started researching all the archival footage I could find. And that's when I made this decision to do both, which was to include the contemporary artist performing the music in the studio, but also talking about Marc and his influence, and then also telling the story of, it's much an in-depth biopic, but it is an in-depth look at the creation of the songs and all the genres he worked in and how he developed his music and all the people he influenced, some of whom are interviewed in the film. And also I let him talk, we found a lot of old radio and television interviews. And I was fortunate enough to get to some people who knew him a long time and knew him well. Gloria, of course, Gloria Jones, his partner in life and musical partner. And also people like Jeff Dexter, who knew him from his modeling days when he was, 12 years old, and was friends with him till the end, and worked on his television show, his variety music show. We have a lot of footage of as well. So it just emerged over the years and turned into this film. And
and I want to add to that the album. First, I want to tell people, if they don't know, Marc Bolan, T-Rex are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, inducted in 2020. So it's apropos that we're coming into this interview right now, a very recent thing. And also, Ethan has a plan of, and Roland, to send the film to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which that will be a big thing if that happens. I think it will. But anyway, I want to mention some names on the album. Nick Cave, Joan Jett, Lucinda Williams, Peaches, Beth Orton, Gary Marino, U2 with Elton John, Emily Haynes, Father John Misty, Perry Farrell, Gavin Friday. It goes on and on. Todd Rundgren, Jeff Harris, Julian Lennon, David Johansen, Maria McKee.
It's Sean Lennon.
Oh, Sean Lennon, right. I'm sorry. And I know Sean Lennon, so I'm embarrassed right now. But yeah, very true. So the album has more names on it, but it's 26 songs. I have the double vinyl of it, and which is wonderfully designed by David Calderly. And the writings in it also are amazing. David Frick wrote the forward, and the producer Will wrote Ethan, the producer of the album.
Al Wilner.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really a fantastic album to get, and of course, this leads into the film portions of the interviews from these musicians, and it's a fantastic movie, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, it was really, really a great movie and very informative too, and
Yeah.
things, that you would not have known. There was a lot of support. So basically, Roland's dad, I saw in the movie that he was very popular as far as his music in England. And he was like right up there with the Beatles, they said, as far as popularity and things of that nature.
He came up right after they had broken up and stopped recording, and um, he got a lot of their audience and a lot more people. He had not like 10 number one hits in the UK in the 70s, and never found that kind of success here in other countries. We've played in the UK. We played there in September. The film did played in September in theater, on Sky TV and in DVD. We had a very nice fall and winter, UK and Ireland. So the tradition continues. What we're hoping to break is that this time, uh, when the film hits North America, he'll find a whole new audience, and that was
Right.
one of the ideas behind this.
Yeah.
Right. Right now, it's kind of only available. Isn't it only available like in the UK?
UK and Ireland,
Mhm.
but that will change. Um, we will get it out here for sure.
So do you have a distributor for North America
Yeah,
of the film?
we have interest. We played in America. We did play in the Tribeca Film Festival when it was somewhat unfinished and we had not cleared all the rights to the music in the archive, which you can do for like a festival.
Yeah.
And ton of interest, but it took us a year after that to clear everything. And that entire time, we were pursued by this company in the UK called Dogwolf, and they did a brilliant job. They're the number one distributors of documentaries.
Yeah.
And as album cover designers, you'd be interested. They also released just before us Squaring the Circle, which is about hypnosis, who did all the Pink Floyd
Yeah.
on the album covers and so forth.
Yeah.
If you see that documentary, because that ditto,
Yeah. Yeah. I did.
they're
It's cool.
not isn't primarily a music company, but they love music docs, and they did do Square in the Circle,
Wow. Yeah.
a couple of other music things. So yeah. So, but I don't have specific dates for the UK. I hope it's this year. I mean, for the US. I
For
hope
the US, yeah. So when did you actually start working on the project, and how long was it from the time of its first thought until the inception of the final product?
the first thought, as I said, when we actually started working on it, when we actually started filming, was July of 2016.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
That was Nick Cave, and excuse me, and he did Cosmic Dancer, and that got, Hal Wilner went around with the master to all his friends and to other people, and we found some other people, and Nick Cave really kicked the project off. And then, there were times where there were scheduling issues, so we would stop for a few months and start again, which was very rough on a crew. But I mean, we didn't shoot and edit straight for all those
Right.
years, period. And then the pandemic happened and we were in lockdown. And then there was a rush to get the album out because of Marc's induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of
Right,
Fame.
in 2020, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Not to, be too self-centered and egocentric about it, but I do believe that our project, the album and the film, and I made videos for the album, that it lended a certain excitement, shall we say, to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to get him inducted.
Oh, sure, imagine. Yeah, that would be.
But they said, he's going to get in one day for sure, but it would be really, that induction was scheduled for exactly when the lockdown started.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So the
Wow.
was rush released, the videos were rush made, and the lockdown happened. And that was unfortunate. And it was all by video. And they used some of my footage in the presentation that was all televised.
Mm.
But it was during the lockdown when I really started going through all the footage and had worked on the video. So I got so excited. I said, no, I'm going to get this film made. I am going to do what I set out to do years ago. And it was during the pandemic that I found the best editors, and we worked remotely, and it really gave us a chance to dig into the material. And as you'll see, there's some footage of where sometimes you see some interviews I did where people were taking off their masks and stuff.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So it had a lot of starts and stops, as Roland can attest. And
Yeah.
then,
But I'd say, Ethan, I'd want to say this. I'd say, the momentum of the project was building from when we first met, and you started those early recordings, which was a part of. But I think it was a blessing in disguise with COVID that you were able to go back and it was able to really develop the film in a sense to where it became the passion of it and the time of it, and also you were able to really kind of create the full storyline that it might have been rushed if that didn't happen, or I don't know, you never know.
was Roland. And because, I put together a lot of footage, and then it was one of the editors, Michael Taylor, who said, who's missing is Gloria Jones. And I called Roland, put me in touch with your mom. And all of those interviews were done during the final edit and putting together.
Okay.
It changed the film. It changed the film. So there were some blessings that gave us a chance to really take the in-depth look that, we were in forced focus is the only way I can describe it.
Yeah,
Right,
the
you
film
had,
has some really great information, and one of them that really hit me was the very beginning where David Bowie told the story. David Bowie meets Mark, and they're painting an office, right? And they meet that way.
Unfortunately, I did not conduct that interview because David had passed away before we even started the album.
Mhm.
they had a really long friendship, and I guess they were very, very close. And then as time went on, when they were both starting to really get some kind of fame, it was a little,
Separate. They
a
separated
little strange between them, I guess. But they never really, they didn't, even though they still were friends and they still, continued, right? They didn't.
Yeah, Alexxis, towards the end of the film, what's interesting is they get back together, right? And they do this thing, right, Ethan?
My theory in talking to a lot of people who knew both of them and through those years is that they were very close friends and very on each other. And I think there were times where it was hard for David when Mark hit so big and had all those hits,
right?
Struggling. And then he did Ziggy Stardust after Mark had worn his boas and everything. And he exploded in a whole other kind of way. And that probably wasn't so easy for Mark. But I don't think their love for each other and their friendship and their musicianship ever totally went away. And then David says it in the film in one of the interviews I found. It got quite strong again.
Right.
Story
Because in the beginning, when I saw the film, it's in the film I saw that David was a little upset because Mark got out there first with the glitter and the glam before he beat him to it, basically. But then later on, Mark didn't care about it because once then everybody else started doing it, then he didn't want to do it anymore because he already did it.
Yeah.
He started the revolution as far as that goes.
And the story that Spencer's referring to was an interview David did when he did a VH music. No, VH1 Storytellers.
Mhm.
In the final thing, the whole story was not in it. Found the whole story, and they were struggling musicians, and they were both painting the office of their manager. That
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
that's how they met, was painting the manager,
Right.
which is very funny.
It is.
Now, Roland, for you, you were very young, obviously, when
Yeah.
your dad passed away. So I know that it was said that David Bowie actually was your godfather, right? And he helped out the family after your dad passed away, in any
Well, I
ways.
know Ringo Starr was actually my godfather,
Oh,
but at
really?
least as far as some of that stuff goes, a lot of it is stuff that was kind of in the press and this and that. I've never really focused on any of that attention with that. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
there's nothing. I just was happy that the Bowie estate allowed us to use a lot of this footage, and obviously their friendship, they meant a lot for music and obviously for each other. So, that's how I take from it. So.
Right. Being that
Another
you,
part. Yeah. Oh, go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Alex. I'm
I was going
sorry.
to say, being that you were so young, do you have any memories from back then of your dad? Because you were only like 2 years old.
True. No.
Yeah, I was so young, that's like something I dream of, and luckily there is pictures, and there's also, some home footage and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But right now I could say I'm happy that his music and also projects like this and this stuff is still around, so that's how I've kind of learned, and that's my relation to my father, just as much that I share that with you and everybody else around, and I'm happy that we have that to grow from, and I can learn from
Right.
that, and
And
I feel
Roland,
him with me.
yeah, Roland, I want to top that with in the film. What is very important is pointed out by several major musicians is his songwriting. We should talk about that because he was such a great songwriter, right?
Right. And he didn't get the credit that
Yeah.
he deserved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is with the album, and yeah, Ethan, go on with what were you going to say?
He was incredibly influential to a lot of people who came after him, he really hit. He was also part of what was then a big, well, it's never gone away, but the teeny bopper appeal. He had a lot of young female
Teenagers.
superstar in the UK and around the world. And because of that, the seriousness of his lyric writing and his composing and his musicianship got lost. And which is why in the center of the film, we go back to the early Tyrannosaurus Rex days. So you really get an idea of how he was influenced by certain musicians and poets, and how he turned it into his own thing, and then how when he went electric, it became basically the creation of glam rock. And I mean, there's probably a metal hair band from the 80s that doesn't feel they owe a lot to Marc Bolan.
Mm.
And it's not just the look, it's the sound, it's the way
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, bang a gong, get it on. I mean, us musicians, we're still performing that song how many years later,
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, our friend Richard Barone, that's in the movie, brings up a point. With this group called the Bongos, he brought one of those songs back to Billboard charts. These groups are so influenced by him through life. It's amazing. They're kind of like he's as big as to me, a great group was like that was MC5, which still hasn't gotten the Rock Hall of Influence groups. But Marc Bolan, T-Rex were amazing and influencing, like you said, Ethan, many groups, many people.
I'm glad you brought up NC5 because Wayne Kramer passed away last week.
Yes.
Yeah, God bless him. God bless him.
Yeah.
The MC5 is in the film.
Yeah.
Wayne played lead guitar on a lot of the tracks, and thank God, we have all of it.
Yeah.
And also, I did a long interview that did not make the final. So I have this
Oh.
Wayne Kramer.
Wow.
Wow.
Can you put that out as like a separate thing?
Yeah.
Too. I mean, I would love to, because it's because we talked a lot about when the MC5 played a concert in Lincoln Park in Chicago, which was the very beginning of Chicago riots in 1968 during the Democratic Convention. And he remembers it vividly. And they were playing in the park when it all started. And, they were doing, I'm sure this will get edited, but kick out the jazz motherfuckers. And, that's the song. I'm not telling anybody to kick out the jazz.
Right, the title.
Yeah.
But, so there's a lot of history with these people and with everyone, from all of it, all around. And I hope I touch on as much as I can in a 96-minute film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when Judith did our 245 books, we made sure that Marc Bolan had a sleeve in each one of those books, because to us, Marc Bolan, T-Rex were such a foundation in the history of music. I just want to bring that in. And, but, he's so influenced so many people. I mean, it's crazy,
And he was about who influenced him,
Yeah.
Eddie Cochran from the 50s.
Right.
Ray and all those.
Yeah.
We have him playing with Elton John and Ringo Starr and T-Rex, Tutti Frutti,
Yeah.
that he does in the film. And but he's also, he gave a lot of credit to meeting, knowing, and watching Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix when he didn't know much about the electric guitar.
Right.
Really, he is an amazing guitar player, amazing acoustic and electric, and I think we show a lot of that in the film as well.
Yeah, very true.
Where was it now? I forget the one part of the film where he was performed. He went on stage. I think it was a big event or whatever, concert, where he was getting booed.
Yeah, it was
after he basically cursed to the audience, you know what I mean? After that they respected that, and then after that they were loving him.
Right.
Yeah, that was a Billy Idol segment.
Yeah, Billy Idol was a teenager. He wasn't even a musician yet.
Oh wow.
Teenager was there at the festival, and he tells the story as if it happened yesterday. And that's what opens the film. Is Billy.
Yeah.
And then Mark gave Generation X their big break on his TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It comes full circle because he respected and enjoyed and loved the punks. He loved the Ramones. He loved the Sex Pistols. He loved Generation X and the Damned. He toured with the Damned. And so it's interesting. And the punks really looked up to him because he was the only established top 40 artist who embraced the punk movement. They were all other guys who were in their late 20s, early 30s were not happy about these retrogrades coming in. He embraced it. He thought it was fun. He thought it was great. He loved the of it.
And
pause.
Ethan, he loved the Ramones. He loved the Ramones. I got to emphasize that.
Famous first show they did at the Roundhouse in London.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have to take a pause to correct something. I'll be right back. Sorry. We're going to edit this out.
Roland, how's the rain?
It's cleared up finally. No, we've been hit pretty hard for about 3 days. It's been, everyone in LA, it's a dramatic experience, but this time it really was roadside floods, and you know, it was definitely kind
Yeah,
of gloomy.
Roland, I had some friends in LA that were telling me they had to go to a hotel, you know? It was that
I wouldn't
bad.
doubt it. You know, the power was going out. It was all sorts. So I think we get a little bit more tonight. Now we're pretty much cleared up. So
Great.
we'll see what
Thank
happens.
God.
But you know, it's over. Yeah, it gets a little exaggerated. But you know, Ethan
Yeah.
always knows I'm the one to bring. I bring the weather to Ethan all the time. That's how we do it out here. You know.
And so,
So
Roland, are you still in California?
yeah, I'm in Los Angeles.
You're in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I'm
you're
up at the
both you're
in
both in
Marina Del
California
Rey.
then. Okay.
So I'm in New York.
Oh, you're in New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Ian was using
Where
a
in New York?
Biden
Where
was
in New York, Ethan?
east side.
Where?
I'm not going to give that information out on a.
Oh,
On
no,
a
no, no, I don't, I mean, I'm just saying, east side, west side, all around town.
Yeah, you're gonna have people trying to knock at his door.
Yeah,
We have Biden in New York today. So,
all down today.
Yeah, he just left LA.
It was
Yeah.
just crazy. There's sirens.
yeah, traffic has been horrendous.
So, Roland, let me ask you. So now you kind of stepped into your dad's footsteps a bit, and you play guitar and sing as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, I basically kind of around after the 20th anniversary of Paula's passing, and I was kind of involved in the LA hip hop scene, but then I started playing and singing. I had a band of my own as well, and for all these years I've been touring and recording a bit. But once I really started to kind of help clear up my dad's legacy, it's working behind the scenes, working on these projects have been a big passion for me. And when Ethan and Bill came knocking on the door, this was something that I felt I'd be really happy to be a part of, and I'm just very
Sure.
thankful that it's the first time that really there's unity within the Bolan collective in a sense of the world, because my dad's legacy, with a lot of the financial affairs and stuff, was kind of mixed up. But what's great about this project is it's him as a songwriter, him as a musician, and that it focuses on what needs to be focused on, and that's where we stand. And this is what a new generation can kind of end old, or everybody can kind of come together and appreciate.
Oh,
You know.
sure.
Yeah, and also, which is really important to me, is the film is beautifully edited. Who did the editing on that, Ethan?
Michael Taylor and Alex Frost.
Great.
Alex was Michael's assistant, and he's the one who organized the years and years of footage I had,
Wow.
an outline. And then when Michael had to go on to another project, Michael Taylor, I said, I really like your assistant, and he knows the footage better than anyone. I'd like him to stay and work with me directly. And so this quiet guy with headphones, awesome person as well, took over, and we had the best time. We really, as I said, there wasn't a lot going on, and really had a ball. Editing this film was, I enjoyed the interviews, I enjoyed the footage, and I enjoyed all the research, but really putting it together and the editing was so much fun. And I worked with two incredibly talented people, and it was just, we were all into it.
Judith once told me it's what people act out and not what they say. And what I found in the album and the film are these incredible musicians who wanted to be on the album and also to be interviewed. And that's very important because they're acting out the love of Marc Bolan and T-Rex, right?
Right.
But that was hard, and they didn't all want to be filmed while they were futzing around in the studio. So that was a real challenge, was getting the trust of the musicians to say, okay, we'll do this. And that is also a great tribute to Marc, that they were
Right. How well he was, how much he
Yeah.
was loved
Yeah.
by his peers, you know?
Yeah, also Alexxis.
Mhm. Okay, so Roland, let's see, we're talking about the Children of the Revolution. Isn't that one of the songs that you did?
Yes, that was that's a great story because in the studio, that was one of the sessions where I was at the studio and I recorded a scratch take with the full orchestration with Wayne Kramer playing guitar. But then
Wow.
one of the highlights of the film is the Macy Gray
Yes.
version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan will, and obviously, and then Kesha's version is on the album. But you know that song, there was something special about being in the room with those talented musicians and how they were
Yeah.
able to adapt and transform my dad's compositions. And that's where people nowadays, that's some of the best parts of the film were actually seeing what it was like to be in a studio session. Nowadays, there's so much technology and computers to actually see people knock out the tracks in one take, combined in the energy in the room. Yeah, Children of Revolution is definitely one of the strongest examples of that, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
children. We had at least 2 cameras going, if not 3. Things were thrown together so quickly with one camera. But a lot of the good sessions, the big sessions, we had a few cameras going, so we were given a lot of options in the editing to do. And like the rooftop performance of Snarky Puppy, we had a lot of cameras, and it shows. And we shot
Right.
beautiful September light in New York. It was great. Yeah, it was.
I love the fact, Ethan and Roland, you had Joan Jett in there, because Judith and I designed many albums for her, and she's such a big Marc Bolan T-Rex fan.
Well, she was really great. She was one of the sweetest of participants, with her enthusiasm for the music and just as a human, and also because she really spoke directly about being a young teenage girl
Mm-hmm.
out. And I really feel, and Joan acknowledges, that her own taste in music and her own musicianship and singing was highly, highly influenced by Marc. And
Yeah.
she very openly, seriously, and enthusiastically about it. And she was just a total joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was fun. She's just a great all around person.
She is. She is.
I'm lucky to work with her.
Yeah.
Roland, can you tell me about the Marc Bolan School of Music?
Yes, the Marc Bolan School of Music and Film was created by my mother, and also I've been a part of it since its origins. I had an opportunity to go to Sierra Leone. It's in West Africa, and my mom was living there for quite a long time. We've been able to establish a strong foundation there, and we're moving forward. And with the exposure from the kids in the film, we've broken ground on the school, and it's still building, and we plan to do some big things within this next year. So looking for all the help we can get. But
is that where she has the orphanage? Does she have an orphanage
work
there?
with we work with the orphanage.
Oh, okay.
And some of those children of the orphanage then come to the school, part of the school. But she's made quite a bit of a presence there, and really is it's a way that she's been able to connect and give back, and she's very passionate about it.
So where do you think if your dad was still here with us, what do you think he would be like now as far as his music or where he'd want to go with things, or even just, the way that the world is now? How do you think he would be?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think he was very much a trendsetter, what he was doing musically with the later years, with the work that him and Mom were doing. And obviously he was definitely looking into film and television. So if he wasn't directing this film, he'd probably be bossing Ethan around and telling him what to do. Which would be, I'll conjure that up in my dreams one of these days. But
There you go.
I could only imagine. I think he would fit in. He would have fit in quite well, and he probably would have started a whole new style with them in himself. You never know what that could have been like in the 80s with him running around.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I wouldn't be here right now doing this. I know that, but I'd probably be somewhere else. We have him in music and in spirit, and I am here, but just that's something that I think we can answer forever. And what do you think, Ethan?
Well, I think he would have. I think he would have. I mean, a long time has passed since his passing, but I do think he would have been at the forefront of a lot of musical styles. I mean, I do think, he was there with punk. He would have gone right into new wave and new romantics, and you could hear all that stuff. And certainly metal. I mean, he wrote Metal Guru.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
People forget that the heavy metal thing is very, very influenced.
Yeah.
Sound and his look and his style of performing.
Right.
People kind of take for granted now, but if you look at what he was doing, it was
Crazy.
So. I do think he was interested in disco music at a certain point. I do think he would have been interested in probably electronic music. And then all the rock and roll people would have hated him for it. So it's
Yeah.
been into, and
Definitely.
he probably, he was a published poet. We say in the film he was at one point the #1 poet in Great Britain, and he would have written. And he was interested. I mean, he was so ahead of his time, and we talk about this in the film. He was into Tolkien and The Hobbit and The Lord of the
Right.
Those books were extremely popular when he was into them, but they did not then what they became now. And the Marvel Comics, we have him, Stan Lee. We found a radio thing that he did with Stan Lee, talking about the Silver Surfer and all these characters. And that was Marvel Comics at that time were really a cult thing for teenage boys and stuff. And the idea that he was so far ahead of everybody, I mean, I think it blows his mind that Marvel Comics is its own industry right now.
Yeah.
And his references are everywhere. I mean, he was definitely in that world.
He was cutting edge, and he was cutting edge on all things that became popular, which is really fascinating to me. And so I think I think he liked young people and what young people were doing, and he wasn't threatened by them. And I think he probably would have, been making films like he did with Ringo. And he was way into that fantasy world in filmmaking. And I'm sure whether he would have been able to or had done it, but I'm absolutely positive. He's very clear about it when he was alive that he would have wanted to be a part of that film transformation.
Yeah.
I believe it. So now, as far as links go, where can any of the fans purchase the album? Like you said, right now, the film, unfortunately, is not available in the U.S. yet. But what about the album?
The album, I can tell you, is on BMG Records.
Yep.
And it probably could be accessed on Amazon, right, Ethan?
Totally, yes. And downloaded or vinyl or CD or whatever your choice is. But yes, the album is available.
Okay. So Angel Headed Hipster is available probably on Amazon if you want to get the album, in vinyl or any format that you would get nowadays.
Right, exactly.
I want to point out that one of my favorite album covers, and Judith and I always do a review of best packaging, is the Slider album. The Slider album is such a dynamic photograph done by Ringo, I believe. Ringo Starr photographed that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The album. They just probably picked it up from a pile of photographs that were sitting. Yeah, it's there's a Slider box set with a lot of paraphernalia and demos and stuff in it that is sold out. You can't even get any.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe if I have a tough winter, I'll sell mine on eBay. But
Do it.
very big in Japan.
Yeah.
Electric Warrior, which has Bang a Gong and Cosmic Dancer and Jeepster and a couple of other big hits, is the most famous. And certainly the Slider is famous, but I think many people in the music world consider it the apex of his recording career. And now I think we're going to bring attention to the later albums, which are all very, very interesting and really good.
There's a release up for Record Store Day for Zinc Alloy. They're putting out a whole
Let me
deluxe
show you
edition
the album
vinyl.
cover, Roland. Roland, look.
Oh, there you go. He's got the album cover.
See, what I think is so dynamic is this black and white photograph. If you look at it, it's so mysterious, and it has this beautiful portraiture feel about it, and it's just that simple type on it. To me, that's the essence of a great album cover.
Right.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That is very nice. So, Roland, do you have your own website? Do you have your own original material or anything? Or are you basically just right now, working on your dad's stuff?
If you search up a song or two, you can find online. So if you just search Rolan Bolan, some of my music there's some stuff that has been kind of released, but I'm working on eventually putting out a formal release. I did a couple of records. I was working with a producer, Dito Godwin, and I'll get my stuff out there sooner than later. But it's now this has been a big focus for my attention, but also I've loved music as well and being an artist as well. So hopefully something will spin off of that. So.
Roland, you got the genes.
He's got the genes, yeah.
Genes of your father.
Don't forget
Gloria.
So, Ethan, do you think from this, the people, there was Elton John, like you said, Billy Joel, Bono, Macy Gray, among many others that were involved in the film, and we're doing this material. What about doing an actual concert or something like that and bringing this,
Interesting.
They do them in London all the time. There's a T-Rex tribute band called T-Rextasy that does very well. And they also did something like a week before we previewed the film in London. There was a big concert that they did at Shepherd's Bush. And I think there'll be more. I think Richard Barone wrote me today that he wants to put something together. But I don't think we'll get. I think it was hard enough getting Elton John and Ringo and U2. I can't say that we would get them, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. Maybe with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice. I would think that since it's so close to he got inducted with T-Rex, that there's a good shot there's a no-brainer shot in my mind that they're going to show it at the Rock Hall. especially with the film out, right, Alexis? You know?
Right. Yes, I would say that.
Yeah.
On behalf of myself, Alexxis Steele with Music 101, Spencer Drate, Judith Salavetz, we want to thank Rolan Bolan and also Ethan Silverman for coming on this great interview today. And we wish you much success with the album and with the movie, and can't wait for it to come out here in the U.S. So thank you very much, Roland and Ethan.
Yeah, thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you one day. Thank you.
Yes, thank
The
you.
best of all.
Have a great night.
Yeah, everybody.
You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexxis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.
This is Alexxis Steele from Music 101.